Hey guys, Kev here, and I have a knife to talk about. This is the Ocaso Solitude, and this is actually a design by Andrew Demko. So, somebody you would not expect to have their name on a knife that looks like this. Slim, sleek, gentlemanly style knife, and it's an Andrew Demko design. I find that incredibly wild, but this is a Crispy Donut Community exclusive Solstice. Did I say Solitude? I'm sorry. It's the Solstice. And this is their exclusive with this donut anno, I guess I'll call it. It's like blue anno with pink sprinkles on it. And they have this up on Kickstarter as we speak. There's only a few days left, and it is already funded. They basically set up the Kickstarter so it would instantly fund. They had $1,000 goal. Looks like right now they have about $7,000 that have been submitted or pending or whatever you call it. And so it's definitely happening. And yeah, I wanted to give you my take on it. There's some really good stuff here. I quite like this knife, actually. Whoops. And there's a couple of things that I don't, love, but that's kind of how it goes with any knife, right? So let's talk about it. As some would say, let's talk about the good, the bad, and the fugly. Or is it ugly? I can't remember. This is the packaging. It came to me kind of like this was all smushed and whatever. So, I don't think it was in the best condition when I got it, but normally it would be kind of like a Toblerone kind of box, which I actually like. It's a little different than what you usually see from companies in terms of knife boxes. Now, it's just a piece of cardboard, which is fine. Packaging is not the end-all, be-all, in my opinion. So the brand here is Ocaso, and I actually did not know this brand really existed until they asked me if I wanted to check out this knife. This is a prototype or sample of their exclusive that they're passing around to a few people to check out. And Ocaso is actually was created and is run by the former VP of Cold Steel. Now, I can't remember. I think it was VP of Marketing for Cold Steel. And he moved over, or he left, I guess, when Cold Steel sold, is my assumption. And then he started Ocaso, which is pretty cool. So he's working with some pretty cool designers that he obviously had connections to from Cold Steel already. And it looks like he's using Cold Steel's factory over in Taiwan. This is actually made in Taiwan. And I think the price point is one of the things that is a little bit give and take for me on this one. But I think the fact that it's made in Taiwan, it does help a lot. So anyway, here's the packaging. If you want to check it out, check out OcasoKnives.com. And there is your Toblerone box. So the things I really like about this knife, and there's mostly just good things. I was joking about the good, bad, and fugly. It's not really how I do reviews. I usually just ramble and eventually get to the end. So this is titanium and S35VN steel, made in Taiwan, and the price point is $213, at least right now, on the Kickstarter. Let me see. Do I have the app? Is that what I was using? Yes. So here's the app, the Ocaso Solstice exclusive. And here you can see it is fully funded, 32 backers, 7,000 pledged, 7 days to go. As of right now, today's the 6th of May. This might post closer to the 9th or something like that, in which case there will only be a few days left. Now, if you go to back this, you can, of course, pledge without a reward. So if you like the crispy donut guys, but maybe you're not a donut knife guy, or you don't have the money right now to pick one of these up, but you do want to support them, you can throw them $1 or $10 or whatever you want, and you won't get anything, but you can support the project. That's up to you. The early bird was $215. I think I said $213, sorry. $215, that is actually no longer available. So currently it is $230 on the Kickstarter, and that includes the Solstice. And I think that's just kind of the regular Kickstarter price. Now, I don't know the retail price once these are out, could be more. So $230, and you're getting titanium and S35BN. I do think that is a little bit steep. It is made in Taiwan, so that does help a little bit. I could see, you know, 175 or 200 for these materials. And I probably would say that's good to go. $230, you know, I think the price is fine if you like the design. The build quality's there and everything. It just seems a little bit high for me for the materials. But, you know, you have to remember you have Ocaso, and then he's having them made by a factory in Taiwan. And then the Crispy Donut community guys are having this exclusive made. So they need to make some money. Everybody needs to make some money here. So the price of $230 kind of adds up if you look at it that way. So I get why the price is what it is. I just think I'd be happier spending my money on this if it was like $1.75 or something like that. Just a thought, not a big deal. I think most people are going to either get it or not based on how they feel about this knife in general, not really based on that price. Assuming you know the difference between China and Taiwan, right? If you don't, you're probably just going to say, oh my God, that's so overpriced. Whatever. But it is Taiwan, not China. One thing I really like is the reversible clip. So if you look at this design, it has this Ocaso clip, and then it has this flat portion across the back here. And you can unscrew it over here and reverse it over. And you can see down in there is actually a little cutout to put the clip in. Now, I didn't actually test that because I never flipped it over because I've been carrying a slip joint in my front left pocket. I happen to be carrying this Kunwu Geezer, and I reversed this clip over, so when this came, like the next day, I ended up keeping it right-handed and just putting it in my left hip pocket and kept this one in the front left. By the way, this knife is fantastic. I just posted a video on this as well on Monday, the 5th or 6th, today. So check that out if you would like to. I really like that piece. So let's talk about this knife in terms of design. I think Demko was going for, you know, a CEO knife with this. He doesn't have a design like that. Most of his knives are big, bruisery knives, big user type knives, triad lock type knives. This is a slender, you know, smallish, very thin carry. And I definitely would put this in that gentleman's carry category. And it just does not scream Andrew Demko. Now, there's actually no maker's mark on here, which is interesting. There's no mark. There's no mention of Andrew Demko at all on this knife or that box, as far as I could tell. Which is interesting, because to me, if I was working with Andrew Demko, I would be telling everybody and their mom who designed this knife, because it would help me sell the knife, right? Andrew Demko is a big name in the knife world, and I just think that would be something you'd want to point out. Now, maybe the original version of this does, and this one just is a little bit different. I don't know. Just wanted to point that out. Not a big deal. Personally, I prefer less billboarding. I just think it's interesting that the box or, you know, nothing has his info on it. The titanium's really well done. This aluminum, this titanium anodizing is gorgeous. They did a fantastic job anodizing the titanium. I love the little sprinkles. Yeah, it's very well done. Now, there is this proud liner here on this scale, and I do wish that that was a nested liner. Just because, you know, again, at the price point, I'd love to see that just be nested and have this be slightly thinner, because I think it could have been a little bit thinner, not having that liner exposed, you know, and you could have this this liner where the lock bar is could all be tucked in. I think that would look a little cleaner. It also somehow, I'm not sure if it's the liner or what, but it makes the centering either look off or it just is off. If you look down in here, you can see how far over to this side that tip is, right? Hopefully you can see it there. And you can see when you when you look down the spine, you can see how it's kind of just getting pushed over to this side here and ends up off center. Now, there's no play and there's no rock. It feels really, really solid. And the action is phenomenal on this thing. So I don't think it's actually off in a sense. I think that that liner or lock bar just kind of gives it that effect because of it's pushing it over that way. That's my theory on it. And it has that proud liner. So it throws off, mentally it throws you off, because I think the blade actually is centered between that liner and this scale, right? You can't look at it centered from here to here. You have to look at it centered from this liner to this one. And that, I think, is center. It just overall doesn't look center because it has that extra liner. Hard to explain, but I think it is centered. It just doesn't appear to be. The detent on this is amazing. It's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, you can hear it just fire out of there, and it gives a nice click on the close. I mean, there's nothing better than a snappy detent clicking in like that. It's really, really good. No detent lash or anything like that. I mean, it really flies out of there. It's phenomenal. They really did a great job. It's probably my favorite thing about this knife is just how crisp that flipper tab feels. You don't have any other forms of deployment, but man, I don't think it needs it. It just feels phenomenal coming out of there. The lock bar has a little bit of a stick or grab, but I think it's really just a little bit of schmutz on the tang here. I cleaned it off once and it's already got a little bit more of that, you know, it's just like a little oil or something getting on there. So if you clean that up with alcohol, it's gonna be very smooth. Lock up, again, it looks worse than it is because of the way the liner's set up. You can't look at it from this side over. You have to look at it from where that liner starts down here over. So it's really not that far over. It's probably like 50% right now. And it's nice and easy to move out of the way. Surprisingly, very little lock bar access, but it hasn't bothered me in the least. It drops shut right off your nail and then just smooth shakes. I mean, the action is literally perfectly dialed for what most people would prefer. It doesn't just guillotine down and cut your finger off, but it's so smooth that it just drops when you give it a little shake. Again, no lash, nothing like that. I did cut with this. I cut down a couple of cardboard boxes to test how slicey it felt, and man, it was slicey as shit. I expected it to feel a little bit more like a wedge because it's such a short blade, right? But they put a very good edge on this, and even though it's like regular stock and it doesn't have a tall grind, it felt really good. Now, I do think once that sharp edge once that apex wears a little bit, it's going to start feeling more like a wedge quicker and quicker than a knife with a taller grind like I showed you the Geezer here. This thing is a laser beam, and that's because it's already thinner stock, right? And then it's a taller blade, and it comes down to an excellent edge. Plus, it's Kunwu. They just kill on heat treat and sharpness and everything. But this felt almost as slicey. But I think given, you know, once you cut a little bit with each of these, and, you know, maybe they're nearing the point where they need a strop, this one's still going to be a laser beam, and this one's going to start feeling a little bit like a wedge. And that's fine. I mean, it's just a different style of knife. It's really not meant to be out there cutting down a bunch of boxes. This is meant to come out of your pocket and slice open a package or a sandwich or something like that, and then go back in your pocket. You know what I mean? It's not a heavy work knife where, you know, not that this is, but this could do that type of work. The blade shape is really nice. You guys know I love a sheep's foot blade. It's got sort of that shark foot look or whatever that Demko does on his 80 20.5 and 20 and all that goodness. So it has that kind of blade shape, just, you know, thinned down all the way, if you know what I mean. But again, like a Demko, it's got a little bit of that chunk in there. I think they could have went really thin on this, and it would have been nice as well. But either way, it works, it cuts, and that tip is going to be nice and usable and durable. And I think that's where this is going to shine, in those utility cuts and stuff like that. It's not a very small knife in the sense that it's not like super short. It's probably, you know, a 3 1/4 inch blade or something like that. Yeah, 3 1/4, just about. I mean, technically you could go 3.4, and then you have 3 1/4 of cutting edge. So it's not tiny. It's just very small in general. So it carries excellently. The pocket clip is very well done. It carries very deep. Had no issue with that. Ergonomically, it's actually quite comfortable in the hand. When I was cutting, I didn't feel like I was holding a toothpick. It's interesting because there's a slip joint from Jack Wolf, the Feel Good Jack, that I absolutely love. And that is also a very thin knife like this, and just short, you know what I mean, in this way. And that one feels more like a pen when you're holding it. It's sort of it's, you know, what do they call that? A pen knife or something like that. This feels just kind of normal to me, honestly. I think it's because you have a longer handle that jimping locks you in, and it just felt like I was holding a knife and cutting. It didn't feel like I was holding a toothpick or steak knife or something. So the ergos are really well done, and my finger lands right here. I mean, it's just a flat, you know, rectangle, but it works. Nothing's poking me or anything like that. I thought it was really good. One other thing I don't love is the detent is a bit late. So that's where your detent engages right there. So you have to get past that, and there's no ramp. So this would be another good candidate possibly for a detent ramp. I don't love them, but when used correctly, they are very good. Because I've gotten caught on this detent a few times trying to close it. Of course, it's not happening now, but I'll go to close it like that, and then I'm stuck on it, and I gotta kind of push through it, which is fine. Left-handed, I always want a early detent, because as a lefty, you go to close something, you kind of do this motion, you let go, and you should be past the detent at this point, right? For example, I'll grab the example I used in the last video about this. This is our Divo knives tall boy. When you disengage this knife, that's where it hits the detent ball. So you have, look at the angle difference, right? Let's put them both dead straight. You have barely any angle down compared to open, right? Where this one, you have all of that travel. And I think a detent ramp would help, because if you look at this one, when I go to disengage it left-handed, I push the lock bar over and I pull it down. And by the time I get my finger out of there, I'm way past the detent, so I don't have to worry about it, right? But with something like this, you get it out of the way, right? and then you're on the detent, and now you can't shake it. It'll pop back up, you know, where you got to do this. Which, is that the end of the world? No. But I'm just giving you my, you know, my feedback. And pardon my voice, apparently it decided to disappear at this very moment. So, overall, I really like this. I think it's a sick piece. You know, I wish it was closer to that 200, 175 price point, but I understand why it's not. And, you know, you got to know what to expect from a knife with a blade thickness like this and a short, you know, grind like this. But it's very sharp out of the box. Excellent out of the box. So as long as you keep it that way, it's going to be able to do everything you need it to do. And as a sheep's footy CEO style knife, it's going to be really, really good for those tasks. The flipper tab and the detent are absolutely spot on. Phenomenal. The anodization is wonderful. The clip is absolutely fantastic. The action on the knife overall is just wonderful. It really is. The carry is excellent. The ergos are really, really good. And, you know, I just wish the liners were nested so that it could be more centered. And I wish the detent was a little bit earlier. So those are my thoughts on the Ocaso Solstice Crispy Donut Community exclusive, which is now on Kickstarter. I will link it down below if you're interested in this. And I picked up their last Kickstarter, the Outbreak. Really excited for that one. I think I'm going to hold off on this one as much as I love the action on this. The knife itself is a little larger than my normal style now. Because it's so thin, it works really well, honestly. But I don't know. I'm not the biggest proponent of the colored sprinkles and everything, even though I do think it looks fantastic here. So if that is your style, I think you're really going to like it. So there you go. I love you guys. I appreciate Crispy Donut Community for letting me check this out. Thank you very much. Shout out to Ocaso Knives. I'm very glad I got to experience one of your knives now. And I can see you guys are making quality knives. I love that you're using Taiwan. And I love that you're working with people like Andrew Demko. So keep on rocking out, guys. I love you. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. And I will catch you later.